I'm your host, HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And welcome to the year of 2021. Hopefully, a much better year than 2020.
Mm.
So far, I'd say so good.
Mm.
and but despite 2020 being a mess, I'm putting it lightly. There were still some good medias that graced us as we were stuck at home during the pandemic and just trying to basically not catch the virus and whatnot. So, like last year, we are here to count down the stuff that made us happy and we enjoyed watching, playing, whatever, while we were stuck at home.
We should
So,
note the rules so no one gets upset. This is not stuff that just came out in 2020. This is stuff that we watched, played, read, whatever, in 2020. So if it came out way before 2020 and we only watched it recently in 2020, then it can be on this list. If
mhm.
it's ongoing, like say, for example, Ruby Volume 8, I can't recommend that because that technically ended in 2020, but it's still also ongoing and will continue on and finish this year in 2021.
I should
So
say I have a pick that's kind of debatable on how you want to approach it.
if
It's like,
I'll say that,
but
like,
we'll
general rule is if a season of it finished in 2020 and you watched it that way, then it's okay to talk about here. If
mhm.
it's, even if it's getting another season later, as long as the first season or the second season or whatever season finished in the year 2020, started and finished, then it's fine. It has to have at least started in 2020 and finished in 2020, or started sometime way before and finished sometime way before.
Yeah.
That's how the rule works here. And some of
Mhm.
this is stuff we probably covered on the Outcast. Some of it is probably stuff we just watched on our own. Maybe it'll get an Outcast. Maybe it won't. Who
We
knows?
will have to see. So, and just to before we get to the actual list, I have two picks from this year that I actually didn't like and I want to talk about because I did give them a lot of my time and I would like to share my quick thoughts on them. But Wolf, you have a few runner-ups, so do you
Yeah,
want
I
to
have
say what your
a
first
couple.
runner-up is?
No, I'm going to save those till we get right before number one to drag
Okay,
it
so let me
out.
get my anger out first. I have two disappointments
Oh
in
boy.
this year. One is a video game, one is a movie. Let's start with the video game because it came out first. The
Oh
Last of
boy.
Us Part 2.
Oh boy. Send
My
send
God.
all of your angry comments to HC, not me.
You know what? I'm not sure how many angry comments I'm going to get, considering people threatened to kill a voice actress over this game. Which I will say, this is horrible, people.
Little bit.
Not like in the not like in the game I get, not liking said character I get. Leave the voice actress out of this because Laura Bailey is a goddess, and we should all be thankful that she is a part of our lives.
I mean, she does amazing work as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
Amazing work. Like,
Yeah,
clap
but
to her.
with that said, I love Naughty Dog and I love the first Last of Us, but this sequel, I think the best way to describe it is overambition can eventually kill your product. It has interesting ideas, it has an interesting approach to tell its story, but at the same time, it's lacking in a lot of places, and the characters are just awful people. Which kind of, again, is kind of the point that everything in the Last of Us universe sucks, but at the same time I also kind of need to root for these people. I need to care about them if I want to keep playing. And
Yeah,
honestly,
if you can't care about anything they're doing or invested in, or you can't, like, hey, I want you to win. I want you to get somewhere because, yeah, you're flawed, but at least there is some good. If you can't even get that far with a person, then it's kind of like, why do I want to keep playing or watching this character when I just don't like them? There is a point
Mhm.
where there is nothing this character has done that I like. There is nothing this character has said that I like. Like, they are just genuinely a terrible person through and through. I kind of want them to die, right? And if you're playing that, and most games you're going to be playing for, 20, 40, 50, 60 hours, some of them even longer than
Yeah,
that,
this is
depending.
another thing. This game is long, and at some point, I just wanted it to end because it dragged on so much. And just for the record, because I know that there's kind of the camp of the people who absolutely love and adore this game, and the people who outright hate the game, I'm not a little camp. This game has a lot going for it, and I like the ideas it tries to get across. At the same time, I'm not a fan of the execution. I think I think there are some ways it could have been done better. And at the end of the day, as a fan of the original, I just came out of this one disappointed.
I know, like, speaking some good to the game, I know at the Game Awards it won, like, most, what was
It
it?
won Game of the Year,
Well,
which I do
not
not
that.
understand,
Ignoring that, I mean,
but
it's like the Oscars. You don't really care about that, but it
yeah,
did win, like, most disabled friendly or something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
Which, from what I understand and know of the game, like, it has an absolute ton of options for, like, for people with disabilities of all different kinds, really. Like,
Mhm.
from color blindness to, I think, actual blindness to deafness to just, people with motor skill issues. Like, tons of stuff that you can do with this game,
There is
disability
actually a
wise.
bit that like the new character that you get to play, Abby,
Hmm.
the character that Laura Bailey plays. She like has a fear of heights, and if you are actually looking down, if you are turning the camera down to when she's at a high place or something, you can actually feel the fear of heights. Like the camera is
Hmm.
a bit shaky and stuff. Like they actually thought about these things. Which again, Naughty Dog is an awesome developer. It's just the game itself.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's the biggest problem people have with it is the story. Again, I know nothing, right, of the story. Seen very and heard very little. Surprisingly, I've avoided spoilers for it. I don't, it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other, but I've heard it's the biggest thing is it kind of the story is the issue, and it kind of just drags on with that story when it really should finish up at a certain point.
Yeah, that's the best way I could describe it. Like
And then I've also heard,
actually,
like, I just don't like, and then like you said, I've also heard I just don't like any of these characters, and I just don't care to play as them at a certain point because they never get better,
mhm.
which is also, again, a valid complaint, right? Because you're spending that long of a time playing as that person. If you have no reason to enjoy playing as that person or to root for that person, and you want to help them win as the player, then you're going to kind of just say fuck it and walk away after a certain point.
Mhm. Yeah, basically. So this was the Last of Us Part Two, like my one of my disappointments.
But it
I
out
guess I'll go on with the next one because you are keeping your honorable mentions to the end.
yeah, I want to prolong the segment and
Uh,
build suspense, smart thinking
uh,
ahead. But yeah, like,
mm,
regardless of how good or bad The Last of Us 2 is, don't threaten people with death threats. Come on, people.
yeah, just don't. Like people at the end of the day put a lot of heart and soul into something they believed in, and if I don't like the end result, that's my deal. It doesn't mean you need. It doesn't mean they deserve hate. The people are, and honestly, reading a bit of the behind the scenes, there is actually something the game's director said about the plot that really angered me personally. I won't go into what it is, but at the end of the day, good on them for getting such an ambitious vision out. I don't like it, that's my thing, but they managed to do something that not a lot of games do at the end of the day.
I mean,
And
yeah,
people did find the message and the story intriguing, so go on, enjoy it, and to the people who don't, just don't get the next one.
I mean,
Simple as that.
if you dislike it, feel free to talk about why you dislike something, right? There's nothing
Mhm.
stopping critical. That's what we do here. Hope to, or try
Yeah,
to at
basically.
least. But
Mhm.
again, don't threaten people with death. We're not here telling Laura Bailey we want her head. We don't. She's actually pretty cool. Go check her out
No,
on
she is
Critical
awesome.
Role and stuff like that. Really fun person and an amazing
Hmm.
voice actress at the same time, right? But
Yeah.
it's if you don't like the game, you don't like the game. That's perfectly fair. But don't do that.
Hmm. Yes.
Pretty
With
simple.
that said, the other disappointment of the year, in a sense,
Oh boy.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Really? I
My
have not
God.
seen that. I heard it was
Also,
okay.
I won't talk spoilers then, but wow, like something. Let me say this: the first Wonder Woman is the only DCU movie that I would say is
It's really
good.
good. Yeah.
I didn't see Aquaman and Shazam. I know people like those one too, but after Justice League, I'm done with this. Like, not to discredit Aquaman and Shazam. If they are good, great. I just got burned too many times, man. Too many times. But I eventually ended up seeing this because my mother is a big Wonder Woman fan. And if
Mhm.
you can't tell by my accent, I also hail from the same grounds as Gal Gadot. So there's kind of a reason to check this out because people are going to ask you, what did you think of it? What did you think of it? And it's like, I don't care, honestly. But hey, you need to watch a movie. So I sat down, watched it, and my God, that you felt those 2.5 hours. This was a long, exhausting, boring, and honestly unlikable movie.
Oof.
Mhm.
Once again, send your angry comments to at HC at
Yeah, you
Berkcast.
know what? Come at me, movie lovers of a movie that's been trashed by critics and audiences. And I think even the director and the studio is kind of trying to place the blame on it in a lot of, on each other regarding a lot of it. So you know what?
Oof.
Come at me. Sure.
Oof. Oof.
Yeah. There isn't much I can say about this one. I just need to say, you know what? It technically came out in 2020, so it
I
counts.
mean,
It goes on the list.
so you said right that you just felt the 2.5 hours. You said
Yeah.
so. Is it just boring? Is it just real slow? Do you feel like
It's
there's stuff that should
boring
cut?
and like it's boring, slow. Like the entire opening sequence of this movie, you could have cut and nothing would have been lost.
Mm.
And then there's the entire thing that, one actually, it's not really a spoiler, but there's one point in this movie that I just found Diana's character, Wonder Woman herself, I just found her so petty and unlikable
Mm.
when I watched this movie. And it's like, I'm supposed to root for this chick. I'm supposed to think, yeah, she's the hero. And even though she knows how to fix the problem, she doesn't fix it out of kind of a selfish need.
Mm.
And at the same time, I'm like, oh, yeah, I get it. Not a lot of people would make that sacrifice, but it's still a selfish need, and she ends up giving that thing up anyway near the climax. So it's like, if you really have done that, we might have had a shorter movie. Also, I think she gives up on is stupid, but whatever. I won't
Okay.
like.
Well, I
I
mean,
want again won't talk spoilers here. Maybe we'll do an outcast on it if you want. I don't know. I don't care.
possibly, possibly.
We'll see.
Outcast on the
So,
DC universe. We've done a few of the Marvel movies. Might as well do a few of the DC movies.
yeah, let's do the Disney movies. They suck except for the first Wonder Woman and maybe Aquaman and Shazam.
No,
Moving on.
no, no. We do. What is it? I think it's the Zack Snyder cut of the. Which one is it that he directed? He directed
Justice League.
Justice League. The Zack Snyder cut of
I
Justice League.
I don't. If we can
That's
talk
gonna
about
be
this for a
good.
second, you know what? Let's keep this to what we expect from 2021. Okay, let's talk about it then.
Aha.
Anyway, okay, so we're done with the bad stuff. To the good stuff. Wolf, number 5 for you.
Number 5. I have never watched a lot of these movies until
Mhm.
basically 2020 when we decided to cover them for Outcast, and that is Godzilla. And I'm specifically going to mention if you watch nothing of old Godzilla, nothing at all, if you watch at least one thing of old Godzilla, and just one thing, do yourself a favor and go watch, I believe it is Godzilla Millennium, or Millennium
Mhm.
Godzilla, that one. It is insane. And that's why it makes number 5 for me. It is just completely over the top, and I love it for it. It
Mhm.
is beyond a doubt from, I think that's from the Millennium era, right? And that's
Yeah.
like the Godzilla Final War, where it's just Godzilla versus
Yeah.
everything.
Final Walls is the last one.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that one, Godzilla Final War. Go watch that
Mhm.
from the Millennium era because it is honestly, it's such a departure from everything I had expected Godzilla wise up until like watching the other eras up until that point, and then getting to that one and just seeing it and just how different it is and just how over the top it is. It was just
Mhm.
enjoyable. It was a fun ride. So if you watch nothing else Godzilla, watch that one. And that's why it makes it up to number 5 for me.
I'm glad you put it there because I'm the one who told you to watch these movies for the Outcast. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad one of them stuck out to you so
Yeah, that
much.
one
I'm happy.
definitely did. Like, again, there's a lot of the Godzilla films that were fun and enjoyable, but this one, yeah, again, it just I love those over the top, like ridiculous films where they jumped the shark a while ago, but they've just went back and jumped the shark bigger each time. I love those
They don't
films.
jump the shark, they freaking ate the shark.
Well, they jumped it while eating it somehow.
How does that even I'm trying to imagine the image in my head. How does that even work?
No clue, but they managed it.
Like the guy jumped, did a backflip, took a bite out of the shark and landed.
Hmm. There you go. You
That
figured
sounds
it
like
out.
a jackass stunt, honestly.
But this film managed to do it. But yeah, like,
Okay.
I enjoyed a lot of them, but this one definitely stuck out of my mind as something I probably won't forget anytime soon. So, Godzilla, it's a lot of fun. Even the old stuff. I definitely recommend it.
Nice.
This one especially.
Hmm.
Godzilla Final War.
Hmm.
But your number
Nice.
5.
So my number five, I should mention that despite our rule that it doesn't have to technically exist, come out in 2020, this pick is kind of going both ways because like its its movie version came out in 2020, but that is actually a very long running musical that a lot of people love. And this pick is Hamilton.
Mm.
I like I only heard of the name Hamilton by passing. I know that it's a musical. I know that a lot of people like it, but a friend told me, "Listen, you need to see Hamilton," and that version came out. So I sat down and holy shit, I needed to see this a lot earlier. Hamilton is great for all the reasons you heard it's great. Like, this is how you make history engaging. Show this in an interesting way, add a different perspective, add some kick ass songs to it. Just make it fun, make it something that I'm interested in following. And as someone who doesn't like history much, I was just invested in this. And again, people talked about the song so many times. I can't stress enough how godly this soundtrack is
Mm.
and how great everyone in the cast is. It's just great. If you got a Disney Plus subscription, go watch it already. Like, come on.
Completely fair.
Mhm. If I may just reference one of the songs about you needing to go watch it, don't throw away your shot. There you go. Done. Made a reference to Hamilton.
Hmm.
Woo.
Number 4?
You want to go first?
No, you go ahead. We'll switch off.
Okay. So my number four is Soul, the latest Pixar movie.
Oh, I heard about this. I need to see this still. This, from what I've heard, this may have been on my list if I had watched it, but I have not watched it. But I've heard
So
very good things.
Yeah, so like keeping it very non-spoilerific, beautiful animation, like great story, fantastic characters, a very great and deep moral, but I would say that it's not the peak yet. Like people call this Coco meeting Inside Out, and while I get what they're saying, it's not as good as those two movies. Because, but the reason I'm saying this is because this is one of those movies that you need to see that you need to see more than once in order to fully appreciate them.
Hmm.
So I need to kind of have time. I need to have more time to watch it more, let it stew a bit. I need more time with it. But as is, fantastic movie.
I mean, from what I've understood, this is like it's nice to have you back, Pixar. That's what I've heard.
I won't necessarily say that much because Pixar have continued making great movies
Cough, Toy
throughout
Story
the.
4. Cough, cough.
Okay, fine, but they still had Coco, Inside Out, and kind of a runner-up. Onward was also really great.
I've heard less about that one. Soul, I've heard a lot about, a lot of good things. Onward was kind of in the background, really. Like it got very little. I'll be honest, I didn't even know
It's
that was a Pixar film.
mm, like that's exactly the thing. I think Soul is just more what you expect out of
Hmm.
Pixar, while
Hmm.
while Onward is more Pixar doing a traditional thing, I would say.
Like to be
But
honest,
mhm.
just from looking at Onward, not knowing anything about it at first, I thought it was a DreamWorks film.
Oh,
Like it kind of
uh,
puts me more in mind of something DreamWorks would do, not Pixar or just any
mhm.
other like Sony Animation Studios, like something like that, right?
I would
Probably
still
more
say that.
Sony Animation Studios than anything, but again, it doesn't put me in the mind of Pixar
Mhm.
personally, like
Well,
Onward. Soul does, but Onward,
yeah.
not so much.
So yeah, Soul is a more traditional Pixar movie, but
Uh-huh.
at the same time, Onward is not bad, but Soul is just so much better. Like it's very intellectual, it's very deep, it's very engaging, and like just wonderful, 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 wonderful. Go see it, you won't regret it.
Okay, my number four, I guess. It's
Yep,
time.
your number one.
It's time. The
It's
weeb
time.
section has arrived.
Oh, here we go. What anime do you have for me?
I'm going to recommend something that recently came out in 2020 that was a Crunchyroll original and really neat to see because it was Crunchyroll pulling from, if I'm not mistaken, what are called manhwas, which are basically Korean mangas. I think this is
Mhm.
from South Korea. I think is the creator and originator from this. Don't quote me and don't hunt me down with pitchforks in case I'm wrong. But yeah, I do think these aren't your general um you know Japanese based stuff. This is culturally very different from Japan because it's pulling from Korea instead, like a different part of Eastern Asian culture, right? Of
Mhm.
that area of culture. So, Tower of God.
Mhm. I Before you actually talk about it, I did hear of it, and I think that caused some controversy about the fact that it's a Crunchyroll original
I
because
mean,
Crunchyroll was like just a website to watch anime towards,
yeah.
and them actually making a show that's exclusive to them seemed cop outy to some people. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't.
people are weird. They didn't think that,
Mhm.
Crunchyroll should have basically they felt it was a way to make people pay, but I mean, you can watch it all for free, FYI. Like all of their originals you can literally watch for free. It's just the only thing you can't do is the newest episode you have to like wait a week. That's it. But now it's all
Okay.
already out so you can watch the entire first season for free. Have fun. you know? It's like I don't think you could get much better than that. And plus, it's something that probably never would have been made into an anime, was made into an anime. The only thing I would say about it is because it's Crunchyroll and they don't have as much funding as, say, Netflix or Amazon, who literally have all the money in the world. It drops the ball in some places animation quality wise, but still, yet it looks amazing. Like Tower of God, some of the scenes in it are absolutely breathtaking and beautiful to see. Like number one, and number two, it actually, from what I've heard from people who've read the manhwa, it the anime skips around a bit, and there's a few things that it should hold on or should kind of point out a bit more that it doesn't. But I think you can kind of get this idea that if they did make a second season, that that's when they would bring some of that stuff up, right? That they're holding it back for a second season if that's what they decided to do. But I mean,
Mhm.
other than a few little hiccups, like it tells a very interesting story, and it's a very gruesome story, to be honest, as well. Like
Okay.
I don't know how much I should say because I don't know really how to talk about this because it's been a little bit since I've seen it. Number one, but two, it's also some of the stuff I would say would kind of spoil it. Like I'll say this right, like it's not B stars where rampant sex everywhere. And even that wasn't rampant, but it's not B stars where you come into it, oh, this isn't going to be all that bad, and then all of a sudden you see, the bunny rabbit having sex. It's like, oh, didn't expect that. No, you kind of expect
Yeah.
what you're getting into with Tower of God, and that is like, people will die. End of
Okay.
discussion. And you're
Mhm.
going to see some of them die in kind of gruesome ways for some of them. Like it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not good. But I mean, that's kind of the world. It's very harsh, right? It's very,
Mhm.
like the idea is the general concept is people are brought into this tower to try and climb it. And if they're able to climb it to the top, they're able to be granted like a wish, something like that, right?
Okay.
Like, you're given a lot of power because you made it to the top of the tower. But,
Mhm.
you're competing to make it to the top of the tower with other people. And a lot of that is, you in order to make it to the top, you have to kill your other competitors sometimes. Sometimes you're working with them, sometimes you have to kill them. It's very back and forth, and it's very much a kind of thing of this person was my enemy, now they're my friend, and you kind of have to cope with a lot of that. And you kind of have to
Mhm.
and you see, these people kind of cope with having to potentially kill someone who they're genuinely truly friends with now, right? And how do they reconcile that, and how do they reconcile the idea of I want to make it to the top to achieve my dream, but in order to do that I'm going to have to crush someone else's dream.
Interesting.
Now unfortunately I feel again like I will agree with some people. I think there's a lot they could do to dive into that more, but unfortunately for the first season they don't. It's very surface level in that regard. That would be the only thing that
Mhm.
I would say is unfortunate about it, but it is still there and there is still some enjoyable stuff there.
Okay. I mean, it sounds interesting. I'll give you that.
And I will say I did not expect a I kind of expected it, but it still shocked me somewhat, right? Because you have at the very end, like you have what you feel is, hey, this is an enjoyable, happy moment, and it's immediately crushed. And it
Mhm.
shocked me. Like it actually, like, wow, I didn't think they would do it, but they did it. Like that's really good. I want to see more now because of that. But unfortunately, like this is the one thing, this is another unfortunate thing with the Crunchyroll originals. They may not get a second season because again, Crunchyroll
Mhm.
doesn't have a lot of money. I would hope that Crunchyroll is able to see enough of an influx of stuff because of these originals that they decide, hey, let's continue on. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Crunchyroll has been bought out by someone. I forget who, but they were recently bought out by an entirely different company. Let me see if I can figure out who that is real quick. Yes, Sony, Funimation actually. Funimation, who's owned by Sony, bought Crunchyroll. So basically, the only other competitor of Crunchyroll is now owns Crunchyroll. So I hope, excuse me, that you know, with Crunchyroll being bought out and being owned by a company like Sony, that that means that those originals might actually get picked back up for future seasons because there's quite a few, and this one and a couple of others I would definitely wholeheartedly be completely up for another season of
Okay, that's
because I
cool.
think they deserve it.
Hmm. It sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with with that said, number three, do you want to go first or is it me?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Oh boy, we're still in the weeb section. Um,
Mhm.
this one is less serious. This one's much more like you kind of it's a little bit of junk food, I guess you'd say, as far as anime is concerned. It's the full title is like the title most people will probably know it by is Bofuri. The full title is Bofuri, I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense.
Okay,
It's a
that's
mouthful.
a long that's a long title.
Yeah. It's basically about the story of a girl who gets into I guess you'd call it a VR MMO because that's the thing, right?
Mhm.
That they do in these shows. So she gets into it and she gets enjoying playing it. And no, it's not an isekai. She doesn't get warped to that world and has to live in that world. None of that bullshit. It's just she
Okay.
plays this game and she doesn't want to get hurt in the game, so she just only increases her defense in this RPG. Only
Mhm.
her defense. To the point of she basically breaks the game a little bit. Like not a little bit, she does break the game, and it's basically a silly thing of following this girl around and her meeting different friends and rivals and stuff like that, and just kind of seeing the ridiculousness of her breaking this game and her coming across like these different things that like and it's basically you kind of do like see this representation of the developers trying desperately to make her not break the game and to nerf her, I guess you could say, and she just finds new ways to break the game. Like that is this show.
Okay, then
And
it sounds interesting and actually a bit similar to a show I have been coming up, but
I will also say I feel like there's like a vague hint of, her and her friend are, yeah, let me put it to this way. Her and her best friend who play this game with her inside the game have like a moonlit dinner under the stars where they eat food that makes one of their hair, it makes one of the girls' hair basically have a rainbow color effect, and then the other girl's
mhm,
eyes have a rainbow color effect. So it's not explicit, but there's like vague that's gay,
mhm.
vague, in which I'm all for because they're both adorable together.
Yeah.
That is
Mhm.
all. But yeah,
Okay.
it's I wouldn't say like you have to go out and watch this, right? I would say it's again, like I said, it's kind of fun junk food. You watch this because it's something you can kind of put on the background. You don't have to pay a ton of attention to. There's not some overarching dark plot. It's just fun, and
Mhm.
in a year of 2020, sometimes you need fun.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. So I highly recommend it. If you're looking for something that's just fun, adorable, and just enjoyable to watch, give it a shot.
All right. So with that said, my number three.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mentioned a bad game before. Now let's talk about a good game. And it's about time. No, if this outright saying of the subtitle didn't do you anything, then it's Crash Bandicoot 4.
Ah,
I love that tells me a lot about your opinions regarding the matter. Or
um,
lack thereof, I should say.
Crash it's a thing. I don't hate it. It's fun. It's not one of the Sony PlayStation platformer mascots that I got into.
Mhm. That's fair. But as someone, as a PlayStation kid, was one, still am one, just not
Spyro's
really a
better.
kid because, you know, adult now. I have to
Spyro
pay
is
my
better.
bills. But
That
anyway,
is all.
eh, but anyway, it was very. I was kind of starting to expect it after the after the Crash Bandicoot and Insane trilogy came out that they were gonna get a new game. I didn't expect them to just outright say this is Crash 4 now, and the other things just didn't happen. But I couldn't care less because you can tell how much the people behind this game loved Crash Bandicoot, how
Mhm.
much they played of Crash Bandicoot when they were kids, and they put all of it into this new one, and it was just fun. It was so fun to play through it. Even the even I who plays Crash Bandicoot for a story, right? But the story was fun, uh, and just as a fan, I was I was so happy playing this. Then again, I should also mention that this game is a bitch to 100%, and I know that 100% in a game shouldn't
I mean,
necessarily be a
that's Crash
factor.
in
It's a,
general, though. Crash was
yeah.
always hard at
No, 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 no,
100%.
no. It's harder than those games. Like the shit they expect you to do is insane
I
when
feel
it
like
comes.
old Crash was harder though because you actually had to worry about lives. In the new one, you can technically not have
Yeah,
to worry about
that's
lives.
actually something that I really appreciate about this game. That
Yeah.
they give you the option to choose
Hmm.
between having lives and not having lives. That way, both sides are satisfied.
Yep.
And
Completely agree.
but at the same
Really
time,
cool
even
little
if you don't
option.
have to worry about lives, my God, some of the stuff they expect you to do is like pixel perfect in order to get 100%. But again, it doesn't change the fact that I had so much fun playing it, and I just had a blast. I had a blast with it. I really can't wait to see where they're gonna take the series from this point. Like because this
Mhm.
isn't a one-time deal. I feel they're gonna make a Crash 5 and maybe a 6, and just let's keep this going. Let's keep this guy around. I'm always up for more platformers. And of course, I can't finish this segment without praising one of my friends who was a part of the QA department on this game that I know did his best and just fought so hard for something that he liked to be a part of something he liked as a kid. So, dude, if you are watching this, you rocked it as I already told you before, and all of you go play Crash 4. Don't necessarily 100, don't necessarily 100% it, but do play it.
You have ruined the sanctity of the Outcast Awards. You've allowed bias to come into the show. I cannot believe you.
One, this is my podcast, so I can do whatever I want. And two, I'm
It's
allowed to
my
praise
award
my
show
one
though.
of
I
my
came
friends
up
for
with it.
making it big.
It's my award show though. I came up with the idea. I came up with the name Outcasty. You didn't. As cringy as it is, I will own it.
Yeah, so I will own praising one of my friends for
No,
making it, and I'm being proud
we
of
gotta
him.
we
So
gotta
yeah.
joke, HC. Like we gotta pretend like we're in, a viable and, professional award show. That's the word I'm looking
Our
for.
tagline is unprofessional and debatably amusing. Who are we trying to fool here?
We'll never be on the level of the Oscars or the Game Awards if we don't pretend. That's what they
Mhm.
do. They get away with it, so
Yeah.
we need to start.
Mm. Okay, fine. Give me an orchestra. Give me a few developers to make announcements, and yeah, sure, maybe.
Give us ad money, first of all.
Mm. Yeah. So,
We
number
say as we
two.
put no ads on our stuff.
Yeah, we don't. It's for
Because
free, people.
surprisingly, for now,
Yeah,
we might charge you later. We're still
yeah,
deciding.
yeah. We'll see. So,
Number two.
number two. Do you want to go first,
No,
or
this
will
one's
it be me?
yours. We switch off
Okay,
because make
so
it more confusing for
number
people.
yeah, so number two, which excuse me, which is probably a bit similar to your number three, a show that a friend of mine introduced me to, and I'm so happy that she did because I really enjoyed it.
Oh no.
The Owl House.
Okay, I'm not worried then. I have not watched this one either. It would have probably have been on my list as well, but I have not had the chance to watch it yet. Yet,
Mhm.
but I have heard many good things.
It's a great show. And the thing is that in your number three, you talked about how how it's basically a girl that kind of transforms, goes into another world and something, and just tries to live by that world's rules and
Well,
everything.
she
This is a very
it's game world, right? Like she
yeah,
just VR MMO game world. She puts on the
mhm,
thing, the headset, and she's in that world, that VMR MMO world.
mhm.
But she doesn't
So
actually
yeah, this
transport there. It's not. Wait, are you saying the outhouse is an isekai HC?
all I'll say is that when you said that there are very heavy LGBT tones
Oh, I
in
know
that anime.
that much. I do know about Owl House. There's a lot of LGBT tones in the Owl House. Like
Oh, they're
they're
not
not
just
vague about
tones.
it. They're explicit.
It's a thing. It's
Yeah,
actually a thing.
I do know.
These
Like
two have a thing for each
the
other.
two main characters, yeah, they have a thing for each other. In Bofuri,
And
it's
I should also point out that that I drew both of them together like as a kind of a redraw of a frame for one of the episodes.
hmm,
And this is my most popular post on my Instagram. Go follow me, HC Dazzle. But
uh huh. But yeah, like Bofuri's very. It's never straight. It's not like straight up about it. It's kind of vaguish. You get the sense that they are, but they never. At least in the first season, they never explicitly state anything. Maybe they will later, but not yet. But Our House, I know for a fact, like no, they're just upfront about it. These two like each
yeah,
other. Deal.
and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Huh? Actually, no.
But anyway, our house, despite and LGBT stuff aside, which is always appreciated, we have such a cool world, such likable characters, and just some, each episode out of the 19, I think, something like that. Each one of those episodes, be it filler or whatever, is just so fun to watch, so fun to get into, and it's one of those shows that it's kind of hard to describe exactly what makes it work out of just outside of the fact that it's charming. You like seeing these
Mm-hmm.
characters, you like seeing this world, and you're laughing basically every time that you're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Just great show. If you haven't checked it out, this is your chance before the second season starts. And I just deeply hope that Disney is going to treat this one right.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to get to it. Another to the
I will
list.
never forgive them for canceling DuckTales so soon, but that's a story for
Oof,
another
yeah.
day.
Well, I guess to my number two, if you're done,
Yeah.
then from one LGBT thing to another LGBT thing, the final season of She-Ra came out in
Hmm.
2020.
Right, this was this year. Oh shit.
Yeah,
I forgot.
yeah. I forgot too, but yeah, She-Ra ended in 2020, which, and, if you've not seen the final season, go watch it because, like, hot damn. That
And we also
was.
reviewed it on the Outcast. Go watch it now. Shameless
Hmm.
plug.
You absolutely should because it's a great review and the show is great. Like, that is. I couldn't expect a better final season to that show.
It was definitely a good season.
And, like, seeing finally, you have everyone and getting and just kind of watching the fandom for a while, like getting into it late and just watching the fandom explode when they finally got their Adora and Catra kiss, and they finally showed that on screen. And even getting to hear kind of the creator Noelle Stevenson talk about how much she had to fight to get just that one kiss on screen at the end of the season. It's it's an amazing story. It's that in and of itself is an amazing story, and the season that you get with that is an amazing story. Like again, if you want to hear a lot of detail, let's go into in detail about season 5, the final season of She-Ra. Go watch the Outcast episode on that. That's in a playlist. You can go watch all of them actually. Have fun.
Maybe you can even can we maybe plug it in the tarot cards thing that YouTube has?
No,
Okay.
that's too much. Maybe we'll see. It depends on how lazy I am.
Okay, up to you. You are managing that.
But yeah,
So
like I highly recommend going and watching the final season of She-Ra or all of She-Ra if you've not seen it. Like it is
mhm.
truly and genuinely an amazing show. And just a lot of the themes they try to tackle within that show, they do tackle and they tackle it quite well. And it's just amazing to see. Like, I wish, I had Western cartoons, right? Like, that were this good when I was
Mhm.
younger. We had some,
Yeah.
but nothing
Like,
I feel
I
as
think we
close to
can all
this.
agree that this is better than the original Shira.
Yeah. 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 Well, original She-Ra did have some fun stuff in it. Like, I think it's enjoyable to go back and watch original She-Ra now just to hear some of the voice acting, because the original voice actress for Catra is just beautiful. Like, the overacting is just wonderful. But
That's actually something that, going back to Noelle Stevenson and how she fought on getting that case on screen, this is something that, and you talked about how to reboot and do stuff like that. It's really interesting that She-Ra was a spin-off of He-Man, and one of the jokes about He-Man is that he was gay, like not confirmed in the show, but people just made
yeah,
that joke.
yeah.
So how awesome is that you can take a spin-off of something, take one of the most infamous jokes about it, and just making it work.
Well, not only that, right? Remember, He-Man and She-Ra were basically just made only to sell toys. No one gave a
Yeah.
shit. And Noel Stevens is like, fuck that. Here's something amazing. Sell toys now, motherfuckers. It's like, that's great. I love that. Like, that's amazing. And
But
it's just,
I'm sure people will buy those toys. Like, I'll definitely buy some some of them if I'll find them.
I mean, yeah, but, and hearing Noel Stevenson say she also would love to do a He Man adaptation or a He Man reboot,
Yeah,
I'm all
I'm
for
actually
that.
interested in seeing how that will how that will be done. That's
Like, yeah,
interesting.
like, hands down, right? I would love to see stuff that she's behind in the future. Like, she absolutely
Mhm.
sold me on her work with just She-Ra alone, right? And I
Yeah,
would love to see what she does in the future and where she goes. And I love the fact that, she was able to, with a lot of fighting, able to get what she needed to get on screen and show that that LGBTQ representation. And honestly, open the door for a lot of people, right? I feel, hopefully, anyways, right? Because with the popularity of She-Ra and just seeing how much it skyrocketed, especially with the final season, I think
yeah,
it's going to be really interesting to see, what's coming out this year and going forward, and hopefully we see more LGBTQ representation, right? And we see more of that on screen and just, happening story wise. That isn't just
yeah.
terrible caricatures.
Mm.
So hats off
So
to
yeah,
She-Ra. Go watch it. It
mm.
absolutely deserves your time.
For the honor of Grayskull. There we go. We referenced the thing.
Hmm. So, before we announce number ones, do you have any runners
Wolves
up?
runner-ups, yay!
You don't have any?
Um, Not really. Like basically, I guess Shira season 5 and
Thief.
Onward. I
Hmm.
mentioned Onward in the Pixel thing, so I'll mention
Hmm.
that because I do really think it's a good movie. And one more thing, kind of a movie that I didn't expect to. There are actually two Netflix movies I'll talk about real quick. One of them is called man, I can't believe it has a complicated name, right? So I'll
Uh
need to
oh.
look it up. God damn
Complicated
it.
name. Well, while you're looking it up,
uh,
I'll say a few of my runner-ups. Some of the other Crunchyroll originals. Back to the Weeb. God of High
mhm.
School, right? I watched that one at least, and a few others I've not seen fully yet, and I don't think one or two have finished or been aired yet either. But God of High School, some amazing animation. Stories I don't feel as good as Tower of God or some other stuff you can see, but again, it's you're not really there for an amazing story from this one. It's interesting, it's got a good hook and a neat little mystery to it, but overall it's more background for some just amazing fight scene animation, some just beautiful fight scene animation. Highly recommend it for like action scenes, like just absolutely beautiful and gorgeous to watch. And the way you can see them like in the show for God of High School flip through during their fights, like different styles of animation, where it's cell
Mhm.
shaded or just black and white, where it's just the, like line color. It's just lines, right? It's just the lines on parchment, right? Like they'll flip between that and like the actual 3D. Just some beautiful stuff to watch.
Mhm.
And I'll also recommend BNA, Brand New Animal. It's a runner up for me. I've really thoroughly enjoyed the show and I fell in love with the characters personally, but it's a runner up for me and didn't make it into my top 5 because of the fact that I feel it does drop the ball kind of hard with its racism, allegory and story plot line slash thread, right? It drops the ball with that one in terms of its ending and kind of how they make the big bad guy seem kind of right about his racist thoughts, even though he's one of the he's of the race that he's racist against, but he's a purebred, and they dropped the ball pretty hard. Safe to say, I don't think anyone would disagree, which is unfortunate. But I do think BNA has, and I stand by this, right? I do think BNA has another plot thread of the idea of coming out at the very least, right? Of being transgender or just coming out and being of and as being gay or lesbian or anything of that nature with the character Michiru, and or maybe not coming out, but of trying to find trying to find yourself, find out who you are and where and where you would place yourself and where you stand in the world and things of that nature, right? Like figuring out who you are. Like it has a story of questioning your identity and things of that nature. It's very minor. It's not necessarily on the nose about it. It's very vague, and I feel you have to read into it pretty hard to get that. But I feel it is there with her character in some of the stuff they say and have her do. And
Okay.
so for that, I would say BNA gets on my list because I think it's decently well done, and I think if they had another season, Studio Trigger will probably never do that, but if they did and had a second season for BNA, I think that would be a great plot line to pull forward and go further with and have her figure out, who she is and where she stands and come to that realization like this is my identity, right? And this is
And
who I am.
again, we also reviewed that on our channel.
Yes, we did. I have a few others, but do you have your name?
Yeah, I have my name. So the two movies on that I watched on Netflix this year. The first of them is The Devil All the Time, which was released both in theaters and Netflix a few days apart. This movie has really an all-star cast like Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Sebastian Stan, Haley Bennett, just to name a few. And like it's not a movie for everyone. It is a bit tough to watch, could be even a bit tough to swallow, but I really enjoyed it. It's not perfect, but I'd say it's worth your time just for the performances and for the fact that they got the writer of the book this is based on to narrate the movie. Like,
Mm-hmm.
come on, that's pretty freaking cool.
Neat.
Mhm. With
Next.
that said, the next Netflix movie I watched is called Cuties. I watched this because a friend told me about the
What?
controversy around it because it's
Called
a French movie
called what?
and when it's called Cuties, the movie.
C or K?
See,
Ah, I
you're
found it.
in shock, I take it.
Eh, interesting. It's interesting. But, go on. Controversy, you say.
Yeah, because there was a controversy about the poster of this and how Netflix chose to market the movie outside of France and like how they tried to sexualize 11 like young
Ooh.
pre-age girls and stuff.
Ooh.
And since this is kind of a high school movie in a sense and these movies are kind of my niche genre, I said niche genre controversy, I'm in, let's do this.
That's
and
HC written all over it.
mhm. And so I gave it a watch. And I found myself that I think if it wasn't for the controversy, nobody would have brought us up necessarily. Because and I have some problems with the movie, but at the same time, I also kind of enjoyed my time with it, and I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed what it tried to get across, how it got it across, because it also kind of talks about fitting in and being true to yourself, and a lot of, and kind of the main character is also an immigrant, so that's also an interesting thing, and I think it's really worth a shot if you're interested in that kind of story, kind of this coming of age story. So not it's still both films have flaws, but I'd say they're worth checking out. Just not one after the other. This is too big of a mood whiplash.
Fair enough.
Mhm. So number one.
That's your start.
Mhm.
Well,
Oh, it's my style.
I have.
Putting me on the pedestal.
Well, before you start, I can throw in a few more runner-ups if you would like.
If you have them, sure.
Yeah, I'll continue on with the weeb.
Mhm.
Burn the
Yeah,
Witch.
Wolf the Wave. Let's go.
I mean, I am the resident weeb here on the Outcast because otherwise you would have no anime representation, hardly at all, if ever. So, Burn the
Mhm.
Witch, 3 episodes, released from the person who created Bleach, right? Basically, as his Bleach is coming back, and this is my way to say that by creating this entirely different thing, which is actually kind of cool to watch. I wish there was
Oh.
more of it. There's only three
Mhm.
episodes, they're about 20 minutes long, and it sets up a neat little world. It sets up, I mean, basically, right, it's his way of saying, hey, this world is connected to Bleach as well because it's basically all the same world. It's just this is that except in London, but it's cool. It's very enjoyable. It's very unique, right? And it's very fun. Female leads, just fun. 3 episodes. You can't have basically an hour worth of time. You'll have fun with it, right? And that's
Mhm.
about all you really
Okay.
need to know. After that,
Oh.
more stuff. This one is an isekai.
Mm.
I
Wolf, I just want to say you have a lot of runner-ups, and we do need to wrap this up. Just saying.
nah. I'll give you this one, and that'll be it. This one
Mhm.
is an isekai. Wolf fell into. I must admit, I fell into a isekai binge this year.
Okay.
Isekai, for those who don't know, is basically character from regular normal world, our world, gets transported to random fantasy world in some random way.
Okay.
Generally, in isekai, that way they get transported is they were hit by a truck. If you've
Oh.
That's not actually, that is what happens here, but basically there's an entire meme of Truck Coon killed another one. That
Mhm.
is genuinely a meme within the weeb community, and they call it Truck Coon because that is the truck's character. And
Mhm.
the entire joke is it got another one. And I shit you not, my next life as a villainess, all routes lead to doom, literally makes fun of that by calling the Truck Coon. Like it actively, like it knows what it is. It knows it's an isekai, and it knows that it's not going to take itself seriously. It's here to have fun, right?
Mhm.
It's explicitly here to have fun because the main character gets transported to a visual novel that game that she was playing. Like that's her fantasy world she gets transported to. And basically it's her trying not to be evil like the character and get killed like the character does in the game. And in doing so, she basically makes everyone fall in love with her because she's such a wonderful person.
Oh.
So basically,
Okay.
it's
Makes
reverse.
sense.
It's isekai and also reverse harem. It's no longer the male harem; it's the female harem, and it's basically just female characters fall in love with her, male characters fall in love with her. It's kind of ridiculous. It's very over the top. It's very funny, and again, if you just need something that's just enjoyable, like you're not here to take this seriously. You're here to laugh at it and laugh with it at a lot of the common tropes you'll see within isekai. And if you're here to just kind of watch a lot of wholesomeness and the dumbest character in the world when it comes to not understanding that everyone has fallen in love with her and she doesn't get it at all, like if you're here to watch that,
Interesting.
if that's something that sounds even remotely enjoyable to you, and just again, I do say it is very overly adorable and overly fun. Go check it out as a runner-up.
Mhm.
You cannot go
All
wrong
right
with
then.
that. I would love to
So
cover it with HC. I will say that it would be fun. I think you
okay.
would enjoy it
All right then.
because it's
We'll
silly.
see. With that said, number one.
Hmm. It's
So
your
you
go.
told me to start. So you know what? Yeah, let's get this out of the way because you're going to make fun of me, and everyone who knows me is going to make fun of me. But you know what? I don't care, bitches. Number one is Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie. Fight me.
That's fair. I mean, Sonic is your thing, so no, that's completely fair. The
Yeah, but
movie that
I should mention though, like, really, I put this above Soul and Crash Bandicoot 4 and a lot of other things that, you know what? Here's the thing. One, it's a personal list. It's a favorites list,
oh
not
no, I
what's
mean that
better
should be like
necessarily.
apparent. That should be rule number one. This is our personal lists. If there's other stuff you would think is better or should have a better spot, that's your personal list. This is just our personal list, right?
Yeah. But the reason I put this as number one, not only because Sonic is my favorite character, the thing is that people who heard about this movie, and let's be honest, who didn't hear about this movie with the controversy, let's
Hmm.
say that. Considering how much I expected to hate this movie and how much I was like, no, Sonic doesn't need that. Nobody needs that. No, no, just no. Please stop.
I
Don't
liked
do
Sonic's new
this.
look.
Yeah, of course you do. But I just said no, no live action and CG. No, please don't. And then the design came, and it was like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Really? What are you doing? Just stop. Give the money to charity. Like, save a bunch of kids. Don't do this movie, please. And then, against all odds, not only did they fix the design, which does actually make the movie better because I can actually feel for the design in the final movie, but also they just made a fun as hell movie. So, Sonic acts like Sonic, Robotnik acts like Robotnik. Everything just, everything just clicked with it. That's all that there is to say. And to a Sonic fan, you know what? I'm happy with how this turned out, and I had a blast watching it several times. And even non-Sonic fans I showed this to had fun with it. So it also has appeal to people who are not fans. And I think this is a mark of a good movie eventually. So yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog, my number one for 2020. So happy and relieved to say that.
I I
Um,
I still think they should. Have they released? They've released that film out on DVD and all that already, right?
yeah, I'm like,
I they missed a great opportunity to say, hey, if you buy like the DVD or Blu-ray, you get the original movie with the original version of Sonic as bloopers, right? Like you get to see that version of the movie. They missed out. They missed
you
out.
know, this is something that they actually said that they never finished the movie with all design, supposedly.
Ah,
So,
boo. That would have been
but in the special features,
amazing.
like in deleted scenes and stuff, you actually get to see like the prototype model, and that's the old version.
Ooh, that would be amazing. I would love to see that.
Look, I guess look up on YouTube Sonic deleted scenes. You'll
Oh
find it.
boy. So, my number one
Yes,
is very much better than your number one. But I will say
of course.
it did not come out in 2020. But 2020 was the first time I watched it because it's when we covered it. Violet
Mhm.
Evergarden.
Oh, nice.
Because damn.
Yeah, talk about a show that destroys your heart.
Yeah, like if you've not seen Violet Evergarden, go watch it. It is it's another anime, but it's genuinely an absolutely lovely and amazing anime. And like, if your thing, if your issue with anime is it's like, oh, over action or over fan service or over too much this or that or this or that, you know, this is the anime that will, it's not going to. No, I mean, this is the anime that would change your mind about anime if you have any reservations about what anime normally is or does or what you've heard other people talk about in regards to anime, right? This is the one that's going to change your mind. This is the one that's, it's going to stand out to you because it's so starkly different and it's extremely serious and it takes its subject matter extremely serious, which it should, because a lot of it deals with PTSD and trauma and learning to cope with loss. And it is just
Mhm.
an amazing show. Like, I,
And it can also break your heart, to be
yeah,
advised.
yeah. Like, we have an Outcast that you can go, watch and listen to and see us cover it in more depth if you would like. But I think it was, oh, what was it? I'm going to spoil a little bit, but there's a episode that Violet deals with a playwright, who recently lost his daughter. That one got me.
Yeah.
I think that's episode 4, I believe. 4 or 7, I want to say. That one got me. That one got me. Like, I don't think you can't not be got by that one. It's just so good. So good. And it has to be my number one because I did watch it this year. I know I have not seen the movie or the special yet, but I
I've
have
seen
seen.
I've seen both. I've seen both. Both of them are good, but at the same time, you're also not missing much by just watching the show.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I've seen the show, and having watched the show this year, I can't not put it on my list. I can't not recommend it to people. I can't not say something about it because it is genuinely amazing. It's genuinely so good in the subject matter it touches and how well it does so. So,
Yeah, I
Violet
agree. It's a
Evergarden.
really good show.
I want to point out something before we end. Since we've given everyone our top 5 and some runner ups, I do want to point out something. Both of our lists, right, have a lot of stuff that is female led this time around. And
Yeah, kind of.
I'm I like that. I'm really glad because we've seen a lot of stuff in 2020 that came out that was female led. We saw a few things. I hope this means there's going to be a lot more coming in the future that was LGBTQ oriented. Especially with She-Ra and the Owl House, and I hope due to shows like She-Ra finishing up and how popular it was, and the Owl House now, I hope that means we've opened the door to more LGBTQ stuff that is more front and center and is the main
Probably.
character, and is related to and a part of the main characters and main cast, right? And I'm really excited to see more female-led stuff. Like that's great, right? For
Yeah,
me at
agreed.
least,
Agreed.
like, I'm excited for that because it means a lot more diversity in what we get to see character wise and development wise and story wise. Because the stories you can tell with guys are very different than the story you can tell with female leads. And that's great. I love that. So, more of that, please.
Yeah, agreed. So I guess with a look towards 2021, is there anything in particular you're looking forward to?
Oh, well, I will say on my list, Bofuri got its second season announced. Although that's not 2021, that's actually 2022. Now that I think about it, I'm looking very far ahead.
Okay, hey, that's fair. You know.
That got its second season announced. So excited to see that. Hmm. Owl House, I need to watch that, and that's getting its second season soon, I believe. Yeah. Owl House is getting its
Okay.
second season soon. Yeah. Is that what you said?
No, so yeah, Alliance 2 season 2 is something I'm looking forward to.
Oh, wait, that's coming out
Among
this year, right?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
supposedly airing this year.
So yeah, I would be
And
looking forward to that because I need to watch it.
mhm. Yeah, you should. So aside from that, I also think that you know I mentioned this in the previous episode we did. Godzilla vs. Kong is slated to release some in May
Mm.
of 2021, so hopefully it won't be delayed anymore, and I could finally watch it and talk about it and admire it. Hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
um, something that's mentioning Sonic again. This year is Sonic's 30th anniversary, so I'm looking forward to seeing what
Hmm.
Sega would do with that. Can you show us the new game that you're working on? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And
You
I'm
sure you
trying to
want to
think
see that?
yeah, I do because I'm a fan and I believe in them because they have made good games.
They've
Um,
also
uh,
hurt. They've also made many things.
yeah, so Nintendo made bad games as well.
I mean,
Nobody's
that's just
nobody's
not
judging
true.
them.
That's just lies, HC, and we all know that. Nintendo never makes a bad
Oh, they did. Oh, they did.
game.
Anyway, in terms of other stuff I'm looking forward to, like even if nothing comes to mind at the moment, there are some things that I'm sure would pop up, and actually the new Spider-Man movie, like
Mm-hmm.
the third MCU Spider-Man, is slated to coming out at the end of the year, supposedly, depending there are no delays. And considering all the rumors and stuff, looking forward to seeing how it's gonna turn out.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah, there's a few things. A few more anime that I could mention that don't quite remember the name of all of them, but there's a few different things coming out anime wise that I'm excited to see. You have My Hero Academia coming back. A lot of people are excited about that. I will admit, I am too. You have, um, I think it's coming out sometime this February, I believe, and it is, yeah, that time I was reincarnated as a slime. As I said,
Well, the name itself got me.
I was on an isekai kick, and that one too is very good. Do recommend. The second or third season for that's coming out very soon, so that'll be fun to see. Um, oh, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's this year. Don't quote me though, because the studio did have a massive fire, but I do think they came back after a time, like after the massive fire, they were able to recover. I forget the name of the studio exactly. Forgive me for that, but Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, I think, is getting their second season this year too, which will be fun.
All right, sounds cool.
And again, there's just a bunch of different other shows and games and books as well
And,
that are coming.
and I
Like,
guess the thing we are both looking forward to the most, probably more Rescue Riders.
always more Rescue Riders. Best How to Train Your Dragon show. End of.
No, but whatever.
I say this, it didn't even make it into my runner-ups.
Yeah. Well,
I would like to amend my
honestly,
runner-ups. Rescue Riders.
all the show basically all the show had actually no, the second season was this year as well. But most of the
Yes.
stuff they had was the specials, and the specials are not even counting as part of the show. They are their own separate
You know what?
titles. So
Songwing, I would give it runner-up status. That was fun.
yeah,
Songwing was fun.
it was a nice thing,
I wouldn't put it
I
in top
guess.
5, but I would give it runner-up status. It was fun.
Hmm.
So there you go. It made it
So
into
with that,
runner-ups. What do you know?
yeah. So basically, I think this is it. Unless you have anything else to say.
No, that is it. Can't wait for another new year. Hopefully, we get to watch a lot of neat and cool stuff, and we get to see a lot more female-led stuff and more LGBTQ stuff as well, in like
Indeed.
bigger
So
production stuff.
this was
So
all for this
yeah.
episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What were your favorite things about 2020 or lack thereof, I suppose? You can tell us all about it in the
Uh,
comment section below on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. So until next time, I was HC,
and I was Wolf.
and we will see you all next time. Take care, happy new year, and see you later.
Bye bye.